Members are present. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are there any communications tonight?
There are a number of opportunities that Greendale has been in the news lately, including an article on our world language program, our transition class, and an article on our Act 20 implementation. And those are publicly available at a number of media sites that I can share with the board. The Junior Panthers donated $1,469 towards the replacement of basketball hoops at Highland View, and we thank them for that. We would also like to thank the Ryman Foundation for a $1,200 donation to the Park and Recreation for special events. I would like to encourage everyone to attend the inaugural Greendale Gala. This celebration of Greendale is a collaboration the Chamber of Commerce is hosting and is partnering with the Village of Greendale and the Education Foundation on a special event to celebrate our community. The Greendale Gala is on Thursday, February 20th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Berner Botanical Gardens. It's combining the Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year Awards, the 2024 Spirit of Greendale Award recipient Joe Bustos, and the Village of Greendale volunteer recognitions. It will also feature a silent auction and raffle to support the Greendale Education Foundation. There will be musical entertainment as well, with both G Harmony and the High School Chamber Orchestra performing. If you are interested in attending, tickets are available online through this week, Friday, January 31st. And that concludes my communications.
All right, thank you. We'll move over to our students for their updates.
Perfect. So this week, Greendale High School students entered their first full week of classes for this semester. The GHS Pep Band and Cheer have performed in Greendale and Greenfield, and we are also performing this Saturday in New Berlin Eisenhower. And next week, Thursday, we will leave for Orlando for the national championship. Student Council and DECA completed their raffle basket fundraiser for Make-A-Wish and drew winners last week. And then initial spring sports interest meetings have begun at the high school and will continue until the start of the spring sports season. And I'll pass it over to Noah.
All right. For my updates, DECA is fundraising for Polar Plunge via social media and preparing for SCDC, the state DECA competition. Winter sports such as boys and girls basketball continue to play games throughout the close of the season. Social clubs such as Debate Club, Chess Club, and more are back into a routine schedule after the shortened weeks, and robotics is presenting to the school board, which they will do at this time.
Okay, so you might be wondering who we are and what we do. So we are Graffiti, which stands for Greendale Robotics, advocating for first and inspiring tomorrow's innovators. And every year, we go to regionals and competitions, and we build robots to have them compete at these competitions. So our first year in 2022, we went to the Wisconsin Regional. It was our team's first ever regional, and we won Rookie All-Star, which was great. Then our second regional, which is at Seven Rivers in La Crosse, we won Engineering Inspiration, which got us a spot into the World Championship. And so for the World Championship, we had about a 2 to 3 week time period to fundraise money. It was all the students and team members fundraising the money. Even though NASA covered our like $5,000 entry fee, we still needed to raise money for travel and hotel fees. So that was a bit iffy, but we managed to win the Rookie All-Star Award for our division. And then in our off-season, we volunteered and helped set up the 4th of July Fest, Village Days, J&J Bash. Then we went to an all-girls drive team competition in the off-season called Twist, and then a regular competition called M-Rock. Then we did a volunteer appreciation dinner, then a demo at Pfizer Forum during a Bucks game. We did STEM read-alouds and STEM kits.
In our 2022 to 2023 season, this was my freshman year. We went to the Wisconsin Regional, and although there was some snow, we made it through it, and we won the imagery award and then we made it to the semifinals of the robotics competition. And then we also went to the Seven Rivers Regional, and that was our second regional competition that year, and we made it to the quarterfinals round of that competition. And then in our off season, we again we volunteered at the Fourth Fest, and we also participated in the 4th of July parade. And we also participated in Village Days, and we had a tent at the J&J Bash. And then again, we participated in the Twist all-women's drive team competition and the MROC scrimmage, and then also the Laser Lights scrimmage that year, and again, the volunteer appreciation dinner. And we did read-alouds in person at the elementary schools, and we made STEM kits for orphans and FLL teams in Guatemala.
So last year, we went to the Wisconsin Regional, which was our first regional of the season, and we placed in the top 45 teams in the competition. And then in the Seven Rivers Regional, we made it to the quarterfinals of the playoffs and won the Innovation and Control Award for our usage of April tags and auto-turning to shoot. In our off-season, we continued doing Fourth Fest, Village Days, J&J Bash, Twist, MROC, and the STEM read-alouds, and we did the sensory-friendly family day, the volunteer appreciation dinner, and field workshops.
In our 2024 to 2025 competition season, we will be attending Seven Rivers Regional once again for our 4th consecutive season, as well as a new regional in McGuanago, Wisconsin called Phantom Lakes. And then based on our performance, we may qualify for the World Championships in Houston, Texas once again, which would be super cool. During our build season, which is what we're in right now, which is January to April, we meet Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And on Saturday, we go from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. But we have a bunch of sub-teams on our team, such as mechanical, electrical, CAD, or programming. And say if mechanical needs the robot to build something, they would request time with that robot, and they would have more hours on the robot that week. But if programming doesn't need to do anything with the robot that week, they would have to come less. That's kind of how our build season is set up during that January to April time frame.
Some of the impact that we have done involves traveling to the state capitol to meet with local representatives about increased funding for robotics teams. So through the DPI grant, we increased the funding for robotics teams in Wisconsin from $500,000 to $750,000. Then on the top right, you can see an image of us at the J&J Bash. We taught like elementary schoolers and middle schoolers about how to drive our robot, a little bit about STEM, and just trying to get our name out in the community. So on the bottom left, we have a picture of our Sween X Club. This is a group of women in STEM. We as Graffiti think it's very important that women should be involved in STEM, so we do what we can to support that. And then on the bottom middle and bottom right is some of the images of us helping out FLL teams, which are middle school and elementary school STEM teams. We think it's important to teach young students about the values and the important qualities that STEM can have.
Our robotics team is completely self-funded, and the total we spend about every year is $33,000. Our tournament and registration fees are around $10,000, and if we do end up making it to Worlds, registration for that would cost $5,000. And to build our robot and prototype parts and buy supplies, it's about $13,000. And business things like branding, outreach, and uniforms is about $3,000. And then even just to transport there can add up to about $2,000. So our fundraising goal this year is $30,000. And we try and have many different ways we earn that money. So the first one that we try to do early is grants. And we apply for those in summer and fall before build season even starts. And we talk to prior season sponsors and local robotics companies and tech companies. And then we ask our parents to contact their employers and see if they'll donate to us and give us money as well. And we also talk to businesses around Greendale and see if they're willing to donate to us. We also have a class community online fundraiser that kids can send to their family, friends, and neighbors and see if they'll donate. Even just $5 can do a lot. And fundraising events, drives at our local restaurant fundraising nights.
So why does our team matter at this high school, and what do students get out of it? So students who participate in FIRST Robotics are significantly more likely to end up going into STEM majors, that being engineering mostly, and go into the STEM workforce past that. So students that participate in FIRST Robotics in high school have about a 50% chance of going into a STEM major, which is a lot higher than the 20% chance that it kind of already is at. So having that at this high school will have a lot more students from this high school going on to go to engineering majors, to STEM majors, mathematics, or anything kind of in that field.
So as you can see, FIRST is students that participate in FIRST are much more likely to be in STEM jobs compared to the national average, as well as they're more likely to be currently working in a STEM field, which pays more money. So students that participate in STEM gain a lifetime of experience. They have more STEM knowledge, are yet again in more STEM careers, more STEM interests, more activities, and have a stronger STEM identity. So not just men, but also women experience all of these benefits. So the statistics that FIRST show actually have women experiencing more benefits from FIRST Robotics than men.
Thank you, Noah. Do you want to have them introduce themselves by name, or you can introduce them?
Yeah, I mean, if you all want to come up one by one, just kind of state your name and what your position is, grade, and all that. If you want to do that, that'd be fine.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a senior here at Greendale High School. I'm co-captain along with RJ. I mostly work on the mechanical side of the robots, a lot of design and kind of figuring out what we're going to do, how we're going to build it, and physically putting it together, physically screwing the robots together. And I think it's a lot of fun. I think robotics has taught me so much just in like my personal life of like how I can do things, what I can do is like my career. And I think it's just such a valuable resource to have here.
I'm Luke Wild. I'm a senior and one of the mechanical leads for the team. So I, along with Matt, help design and come up with robot ideas, but also help lead and teach some of our newer and current members how to build and effectively design and put together robots and safe practices and what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing.
My name is Dane Wenzel. I'm a vice captain on the team as well as the programming lead. On programming, in contrast to the mechanical team, we program the robot to move and make it do the actual things it needs to do in the games that we play each year.
Hello, I'm Brayden. I'm a sophomore at GHS, and I'm also on the programming sub-team underneath Dane.
I'm Amber. I'm a business lead on our team, and I am a junior. And what I do is I help with graphic design, designing all the things that are on our uniforms, and our mascot, which is named Squirt. And then I also help with fundraising and finding people who can sponsor us, and then writing emails and thank you letters to all of them as well.
My name is RJ. I'm a co-captain along with Matt, and I do mostly manufacturing and business. Thank you all for listening.
more student updates? Are you guys done?
I'll just make a personal comment through my experience with robotics and FIRST and graffiti. Robotics has given me an opportunity to become a lot closer with the STEM field for someone like me who doesn't really know what they're wanting to do in college and with their careers first. And graffiti has really allowed me to continue my pursuit in sciences. And not only that, from a social side of it, has brought me closer to some of my closest friends within not only the community, but outside of Greendale and within the county and the state. And I think FIRST Robotics within Greendale is a program that has been around for a couple years, and it's continued to grow in the face of adversity. And I think given more opportunity to show itself off to not just the school, but also to the world, I think it has a great chance of becoming something bigger than it is today and bigger than it will be tomorrow and in the future. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. In graffiti. Did you guys have any? Did you have a question?
Well, I had something I just wanted to mention.
It's part of the student updates. You usually don't comment on that. But you're welcome to. It's up to Rob.
Is that okay?
Go ahead.
If you could share with us your I know at the beginning it was a GoFundMe. I don't know if that's what it is now, but your way in which we can actually make donations. If that can be shared with the board, that would be great. Can I just make a commentary, because I remember the first year that the robotics team came before us and asked for a grant during COVID. And it was very grassroots at the time, and I'm just super impressed at all that I've been seeing from this group. The camaraderie, the respect you have for each other. I've had a chance to even observe in your setting at one point, and I just really can't say enough for what a powerful, small, mighty group you are, and all the great things that you're doing, advocating at the state level, not just thinking about your future, but you're giving back to our community. And I think that just speaks volumes to each one of you as an individual. And I want to say you were very articulate, every single one of you tonight. So thank you for being here. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to mention, I know you're doing all these great things here, and a lot of you will be going off to colleges. And some of the universities out there don't really have like a robotics first alumni club. And I know one was started at Madison by Ian, and it's great. Now they're actually mentoring other FRC teams in the Madison area. So I think that's like a really great way to get your name out there, and like Greendale School District and all the great things we've done, because you have a lot to share.
All right, thank you. Moving on, we will go to comments from visitors. Is there anyone that has anything to add tonight? All right. Moving on. We will approve the meeting minutes from last meeting. Before we do a motion, does anyone have any questions, comments? No. All right. Looking for a motion.
I move approval of the January 13th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes as presented in agenda item 1.1.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm yes. Motion passes. Moving on to financials, Jonathan.
Included in your packets are financials for the month of December of 2024. So this is the month of December is the second large state aid payment that we receive. So you saw in the revenues that operational percentage jumped up. It's at where we would expect it to be at 24.08% of budgeted revenues for the year. And then both Fund 21, the donations and gifts, and special education are where we would expect at this time of year. We did say we would have that update regarding Fund 50 and food service. So you see that's now about where we would expect that to be at about 40% through the month of December. On the Fund 80 community service side in revenues, we're at 33.35%. That's slightly lower, but some of that's driven by property taxes. and those dollars will come in the January reconciliation. On January 15th, we got the first tax payment, which will include that amount for Fund 80 revenues, and there were some one-time projects like the JC Park project that are built into that amount. So that's why it's a little bit lower in December, and that should be a little bit higher than when we get to the end of January. On the expense side, operational expenses were at 34.25%, and that's in line with prior year. Again, Fund 21, the donations and special education are in line. The Fund 38 and 39, the non-referendum debt and referendum debt numbers are in line with our debt schedule. Fund 41, that's the $200,000 that's set aside for capital expansion. So that just reflects how much of those projects that we have targeted have been completed to date. Fund 49, there was a much smaller amount in this year, and the majority of that has now been expended. Fund 50 on the food service, we've talked about that's higher at this point year to date based on a project that we did on the freezer unit this last summer. And community service, Fund 80 expenditures are actually just below where they were at last year, and as a percentage lower. And then you see some of the expenditures on the Fund 99 side, and that's just accounting for the Woodland Conference Athletic Cooperative. So with that, happy to answer any questions the board has about the month of December.
Any questions for Jonathan? Nope. All right. No questions, sir.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on, we'll need to approve the checks and disbursements. Looking for a motion.
I move to approve the checks and disbursements totaling the $1,295,243.76 as presented in agenda item 2.3.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business, approving personnel.
You have 2 teacher retirements and the reemployment of administrative staff in alignment with state law around administrative contract renewals.
Does anyone have any? Go ahead.
Just have one question, and I'm not sure if I've noticed this in the past or just not noticed it, but with the personnel, when there is a retirement, why is there listed as a resignation? Or what's the reason for that?
It's semantics given the benefit level available to those employees. So it's a resignation when they are not eligible for the retirement benefit paid by the district.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Looking for a motion.
I move approval of the teacher retirement request as presented in agenda item 4.1A.
I second.
All right. We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
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 Yes. We also need to approve the personnel.
I move the approval of the reemployment of administrative staff as presented in agenda item 4.1B.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Do a roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes. All right. Moving on. We need to approve the state trust fund loan request.
This was presented at the last meeting. This is for the purchase of a van to accommodate the increased needs for special education transportation, for which the athletic transportation had been borrowed or taken, and this is replacing that.
Do we have any questions?
I just had one question for Jonathan, I believe. So we were just looking at the your monthly financials and so forth. Does this fall under the non-referendum debt then, Fund 38?
This is accounted for right now in the financials in Fund 49. And so that would be.
Capital project?
Yep. So when that revenue comes in, that'll offset into Fund 49. So we have it there as a placeholder because we're anticipating that there would be loan funding that would come in and offset that amount, and it would be accounted for there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Looking for a motion.
I'll move approval of the state trust fund loan request as outlined in agenda item 4.2.
I second.
We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on, we need to approve the JC playground.
You heard the presentation on playgrounds, and in alignment with board policy, given the cost exceeds the $100,000 threshold, the board needs to take action to approve for us to move forward with the project. It is accounted for in Fund 80.
Any questions? Kathy?
Sorry, I have all the questions. So there, I just had a question about the existing park benches in J.C. Park. Will those remain unaltered? I know there's at least one that's dedicated. I was just wondering how that plays into this.
Yeah, there's a number of newer benches that are in really good condition. There's also some money set aside in the budget if there is one or two benches that are not, that need to be replaced. I think previously one was pulled out based on condition, and so there's some set aside for funding to add one back during the project, but those dedication benches would not be pulled out as part of this project.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Looking for a motion.
I move approval of the JC Playground as presented in agenda item 4.3.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. And finally, we need to approve the open enrollment for next school year.
So again, this is, you heard the report. This is adding 37 seats, and we're graduating 34 seats. Needs to be approved before the open enrollment application period starts, and it begins next week, Monday. So we recommend approval.
Questions? No.
I recommend the.
Comment? Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Julie, I just want to thank you for your, and I think Jonathan, I don't know who all works together on this, but your continued work. This is always a lot of moving pieces, and every year you bring it to us very user-friendly, so I just want to thank you for that. And it's always nice to see that we do have opportunities for new students to explore our district. So thank you.
And before the motion is made, just to clarify, we do need two motions, one regarding the special education seats and one regarding the general education seats.
I move the approval of the 0 special education open enrollment seats as presented in agenda 4.4.
I'll second.
All right, we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. And then we need a motion.
Yeah. I move approval of 37 new general education open enrollment seats for the 25-26 school year as presented in agenda item 4.4.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on, we will hear about the financial audit from 2023 and 2024.
Yep. So virtually, we have Brad Porter, who's from the team from Lauterbach and Amen, that's going to present to the board this evening. I know last year the board asked a question about what is the importance of having this conversation. And so to reiterate the conversation from last year, like this is your opportunity to have direct interaction and conversation with the board's financial auditors. And so you're welcome to ask Brad any questions. I'm sure he was very impressed already. We had good questions about the financials and the knowledge of funds. I'm sure he's going to be impressed by that. But this is your opportunity to ask any questions that you might have about the financial audit or other questions about the business office as it would relate to the work that the audit team does. So with that, I will turn it over to Brad.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. My name is Brad Porter. I'm here on behalf of Lauterbach and Amon as the principal overseeing the financial statement audit process of the district. We have concluded our fiscal year 2024 reporting cycle, and I'd like to share just a brief update of the documents that we have issued at the conclusion of that process. I really appreciate the opportunity to remote into the meeting tonight. Before I begin my coverage of the audit documents, I just wanted to give an extra special thank you to Jonathan, Marissa, Jamie, and the various other members of the finance team that played a role in getting us to this point. It's certainly a team effort, and we appreciate everything that they contribute. I know LNA has really appreciated the relationship that we've built with this team over the last couple of years, and it's really exciting from an auditor's perspective to see some of the positive action that the district is taking on some recommendations that we've made in the previous audit cycle. We know that when we walk in on day one, the vast majority of the items that we need to complete our audit will be uploaded to our secure client portal, which is certainly an auditor's dream. And on a personal note, this was definitely an incredibly challenging year for me in particular, with our twins being born 60 days early and spending a little time in the NICU. So just so happened to be the evening of my arrival back home from Greendale. So a special place in my heart. But I really appreciate the district finance team for remaining patient as I kind of navigated some of those challenges at home. It means a lot. With that, at this point, I will share my screen and walk you through the 3 pieces of required communication that we have issued. So bear with me here. All right. Can everybody see my screen at this point? Very good. So the first piece of required communication that we issue at the conclusion of our audit process is what we call our SAS 114 letter. In accordance with Statement on Auditing Standard number 114, we are required to state whether or not we had any disagreements or difficulties that we had encountered during our audit procedures. And as you can probably imagine, I'm happy to report that there were no such difficulties mentioned and highlighted here, and no such disagreements with management that we had encountered during our audit process. Moving on to the annual financial report, which I believe everybody has been distributed a copy of. That's going to be the thicker of the 2 bound documents. There's 113 pages here, so my goal tonight is just to highlight a couple of the key pieces of this audit document, beginning with page 1. On page 1, you'll find what we call our independent auditor's report. Our job as your auditors is to ensure that we are taking the financial statements prepared by management and generating an opinion on the financial statements that are provided to us. I'm happy to report that we've issued what is known as an unmodified opinion for the year ended June 30th, 2024. Which is the cleanest form of opinion that any governmental entity can receive. So congratulations. This opinion ultimately states that we as your audit firm believe the financial statements to be materially correct. And we do a variety of different walkthroughs, fraud risk inquiries, et cetera, to ensure that we can rely on the fraud and internal control environment. So you'll see as we get into the management letter that we had no such weaknesses that we had identified on the internal control front, which is fantastic. I know the district does a really good job of making sure there are safeguards in place and that there are segregation of duties in place as it relates to the financial operations. We will now move to page 13, where you'll find what we call our statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. GASB likes to keep things interesting. That's a fancy name for your income statement for the year. And I'd like to highlight primarily the general operating fund of the district. The third line up from the bottom, and I'll zoom in a little bit, is what we call our net change in fund balance. And for fiscal year 2024, the district did have a reduction in fund balance of about $1.54 million in relation to a budgeted reduction in fund balance of about $1.57 million. So there was a very minor favorable budgetary variance there, but it was certainly expected by the district. And pages 83 and 84 will have a little bit more line item budget detail if you are interested in having an understanding of how each line item performed in relation to their budget. I will now jump into the management letter, which is oftentimes board's least favorite part of my presentation, but I can assure you we have a clean management letter for fiscal year 2024. The primary purpose of this document is going to be to communicate any best practices that we see across some of our other school district clients, any internal control weaknesses or items that kind of fall outside the scope of the audit, including upcoming accounting pronouncements. So for fiscal year 2024, we did have one current recommendation, and that is with regards to our fund balance policy. The district's fund balance policy sets a target of 15% of the upcoming subsequent year's budget. So in this case, the fiscal year 2025 budget, where we run a calculation here to show what the target is in relation to what our actual fiscal year 2024 unrestricted fund balance was in the general fund. And we did fall a little bit short of that target this year by about $247,000. So we've included a recommendation there, and then Jonathan and his team have put together a management response as well. We had two prior recommendations, one of which was with regards to collateralization of deposits and funds over budget. We had a variety of funds that were over our working budget. So both of which have been disclosed here, and management has provided responses to both of those comments as well. That concludes my coverage of the audit document, and I am more than happy to help answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone have any questions?
How are the twins?
They're great. They are awesome. They were born at 3 pounds, and I think we're up to 13 now. So
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Just eating a lot. Thank
Good.
you so much.
Good. And kudos to you for being in a suit and tie at 8 o'clock at night. I don't even know makeup on, so good for you.
It gets me out of my pajamas during my work from home days. So,
So two things, if I could ask. First of all, Brad, I'm Kathy Vincent. We've been back and forth with the emails, and congrats on the babies as well. I just want to share that I was the selected one to answer some of your questions. And you and I kind of talked a little bit about them, but just for the board to understand, you do reach out to board members as well, or a board member, just to kind of inquire about fraud risk and so forth. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little. I did have a question about, which one was it? Hold on. There's like 5 questions here. You and I kind of talked about it, so I was just wondering, the one about the district, I can't see it here, sharing, do you know which one I'm talking about? I had talked to you about it. The ethical behavior, it says, how does management communicate to employees the importance of ethical behavior and appropriate business practices? So I don't know if you want to speak to that, or if Dr. Midz.
yeah, I'd be happy to. So ultimately, statement on auditing standard number 99 requires us to make certain inquiries of members of management, others key personnel in the accounting department, as well as one board member in cases in which an entity is a single audit, meaning you had more than $750,000 of federal grant expenses. So we do reach out to one randomly selected board member. We try to obviously rotate it each year so that we're getting some different perspectives. But people are incredibly creative in this day and age as it relates to fraud. Technology is only getting more streamlined, and those fraudsters are finding more unique ways to do their thing. So we feel it's super important to have those conversations, not only with the finance team, but also at the board level. And kind of as a caveat to the second component of your question there, it is important that the board is setting the tone and making sure that employees feel supported in cases like whistleblowing, and that they have a safe space to communicate some of those things. So it's really a team effort from the board level all the way down to your personnel. It's incredibly important that everybody has an understanding of the different ways people are being creative in this world.
Second part, this has to do with our fund balance, and we have had a lot of transparency with that in the past year. I think we're at a 14.3% fund balance right now, where our policy asks us to be at 15%. You know, Dr. Midzik and I talked a little bit earlier today. In the scheme of things, probably $247,000 doesn't seem like an awful lot, but we're in the ballpark. But any thoughts on that?
No, I think obviously the fact that you're very close is promising. Other districts, unfortunately, are not so close. And so I have all the confidence that the district finance team is making the right decisions as it relates to getting in compliant with that policy. And it's important to note that that is just a target. It doesn't impact your audit opinion in any way, shape, or form. So at the end of the day, it's purely us just doing the test to make sure that we're assessing where your fund balance is in relation to your board approved policy. It's not to say, shame on you for being not in compliant by any means. It's more of just drawing a little bit of transparency so that the board and the finance team can make positive strides with that.
Thank you, Brad.
Yep.
Any other questions? No other questions.
So the last thing that I would say is thanks to Brad for being here. Also thanks to Marissa Jank, who's here this evening, who is our district accountant. She also had a little bit of an obstacle course because she jumped on at the beginning of June, so at the very end of the financial year, and helped us with the results of the audit here this evening, that we came back with a clean audit, and it was a lot of work for someone that was very new in their position, so we're very grateful to have her as part of the team. So I just wanted to share that.
And you would have never known she was new.
Brad said you would have never known she was new.
All right. So if
I appreciate the opportunity tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Have a good night. All right. We will move on to the Perkins Grant Agreement.
So this is a 6603 agreement. Perkins Grant is a government agreement between 5 agencies, which include Greenfield, Greendale, Franklin, Whitnall, and St. Francis. And Mr. Herman is here to give you an update. There is no need to approve the agreement as we have a valid existing agreement in place. So he's just going to update you on where we're at.
Thank you, everyone. As always, thank you for your time and your support of our students and the staff, and certainly our consortium efforts. Year after year when I make these presentations, I reflect on the fact that banding together with 4 other school districts is probably one of the most fiscally savvy things that anybody can do. So kudos to you. It is actually in April, I get to go in front of the legislator with Dr. Lisa Elliott from Greenfield, the superintendent there, and actually talk about our model, about what we're doing here, as we've been listed as innovative, along with 4 other districts that are doing something innovative as well. But, not only is it a smart thing to do, it really does provide opportunities for our students that otherwise might not exist. One such thing would be our Greenhouse Grove project. Mr. Price and his construction students are building a greenhouse that will be showcased at the NARI Home Show coming up in the middle of February. And then we'll give it to Ms. Geiger for her horticulture club to use for going forward. The really cool thing about that is our industry experts are actually coming in and working side by side with our students. Things like, Mr. Price even admitted, he had to divulge to me, he's like, I haven't done framing since I was in high school myself. Okay, great, let's get a framer in here, and everyone learns how to do some framing, and the students get a chance to talk about what does it mean to be a framer. It doesn't mean that they're going to, all of a sudden become framers, but at least, it's like you're talking to somebody that's in the industry and they're learning something that, who knows, maybe they can put to use at some other place. The idea behind doing this kind of stuff is really about highlighting these students in these types of classes, most importantly, the students, especially because, construction class does not necessarily draw the attention that other things do. The winner gets a chance to get the golden tool belt, so we'll see if Greendale gets taken out, if they get up on top. Another thing that having a consortium does, it really frees up our teachers' time to do what they should do. Instead of trying to go out and make cold calls and try to get guest speakers and line up field trips and have different exposure experiences and so forth, they get a chance to just teach, which is what we want them to do. An example of that would be next week we have a humongous health expo. To my knowledge, it is the largest health expo for high schoolers that has happened in Milwaukee County, simply because it's going to involve 100 industry experts from 4 large major hospital systems, our business partners as well, and then also 6 local colleges and universities. So, all we have to do is ask Ms. Holschbach and Ms. Welsh to put together, or Mr. Mitch, put together 40 students that are aspiring to get into healthcare, get them on a bus, get them over there. The students have an hour and a half to work on their communication skills, build up their, their networks, obviously. And it's also, again, it's a professional development for our guidance counselors, for our teachers, for our students, and our administrators. Does anybody know what a perfusionist does here? Okay, you're probably in healthcare, no cheating. Don't give it away. So we're going to have a perfusionist there. I had to look it up because I'm an English teacher. So a perfusionist actually only goes to school for 2 years. It's a 2-year degree. It is the person that basically monitors your heart when you have bypass surgery. It is only a 2-year degree. The starting salary is $125,000, and as of January 2025 in the state of Wisconsin, the average salary of a perfusionist is $180,423. I only bring that up not because of the dollar figures, although that's quite a bit of money, okay? It's that type of stuff that our students will get on that day because they interact with what you can imagine, a lot of doctors and nurses and so forth, okay? Our job on that day is really to expand their, this is what healthcare is, okay? I don't know where you're going to go after high school, but I do know that you're going to know exactly what you can do, and that is what we are able to do with this type of banding together. The last thing I would say is just expanding employment career opportunities. You guys know about our CNA lab. We'll have 100 students go through the CNA program this year. Tomorrow I'm actually taking 8 CNA students, including some Greendale students, to Aurora St. Luke's to meet 4 nurse managers, take a tour, and get their second interview. 5 of the 8 have already been offered a job before their second interview. So that is going to be really exciting. It's really nice about those types of things that I can turn around to Freighter, like I did today, and guilt them into doing the exact same thing. Because they're like, well, what's Aurora doing? Well, guess what we're doing, And then all of a sudden they want to jump on board. You also know about our MA lab. We just built, a class started last week. We had 55 applicants. That got down to 15 students that made the cut to get an interview. 9 made the final cut, 4 of which are from this district. So the MA lab, like, the CNA lab is, it's kind of a unique thing. For my research, it is the only lab that's embedded into a school. There are labs at technical colleges, and certainly at hospitals and such. Our lab is the only one of its kind in the state of Wisconsin. So these are the kinds of things that we can do when we all get together and we stay focused on students, which is what our 5 school districts do. In closing, I would say we constantly are giving our students experiences, much like the graffiti. Those are the experiences that really help our students understand what they're good at, what they're interested in, and have some sort of vision before they get out of high school. My end goal for all these students is really to make sure that they do know what they are interested in, maybe also know what they're not interested in, but ultimately, get what they need so that they can eventually end up into a career of their choice, as well as, be able to move out of their parents' basement and, sustain their own life. So those are good things that are happening within our consortium. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this job. It is a fantastic job, and great things are happening. Any questions?
You always look at me.
It's just, I scan the room real quick. Did you have a question?
I do. Well, first of all, he always looks at me. First of all, Tom,
why.
How many years have you been with us now?
This is my 6th.
6th year, because I know since I've been on the board, you've been with us. I just want to thank you. You are so passionate about what you do, and when we've heard from some of these students, you've brought them in before, the amazing opportunities that are happening right here at Greendale High School. And as you said, that we're working together with these other districts, and we're working smarter, not harder, I think, in doing that. But really it comes down to the work you're doing and your passion for working with our students. I don't know if our student board members have any experiences or know anyone that's gone through these programs, but every year you come before us, I'm just learning, I just learned about a perfusionist today. I might start a second career. I just want to thank you for the hard work you do. And
Thank you.
I wish these opportunities had been here when I went to Greendale High School.
That's what everyone my age says,
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Herman.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Enjoy the rest of your night. All right, moving on. Tasha with the legislative update.
So I'm going to kind of just combine that with the Wisconsin State Education Convention that we all attended this past week. I was part of the resolutions committee, and we talked about it as a board of which resolutions we were supporting and which we were not. And the one that we were concerned about was the resolution of decoupling public and private school funding, and that was a no, which is what we were all hoping it would be. There was one other resolution out there for early literacy assessments for English learners, and that one did pass without any amendments for inserting something that has to do with the cost being like having funding from the state. And all the rest kind of went the way that we thought. And then I just recently read something on a news link that there's been a measure brought forward by the Wisconsin Republicans earlier this month requiring schools to come forward with a board policy banning phones, laptops, etc. during instructional time. So we may have to keep an eye on that and eventually revisit our policy. That's it.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any board committee updates to share? I don't know if there have been any since the last meeting. All right. Next is board professional development, talking about the education convention. Anything you wanted to add?
No, if you want to share anything that you had in your breakout sessions, Kathy and I did present on board self-evaluation and the value of reflecting on your practice and what's research-based around high-functioning boards. So we participated in that presentation and had a pretty full room and some requests for our levels of engagement.
And I'd also like to point out, too, that we had Jonathan Mitchell and Julie Grota first were presenting also about kind of some of the options with the self-funded insurance and how that was going and was well received. And they did a great job kind of outlining how we've optimized the services for the cost, working with our insurance providers. So that was, commend them with that. And also there was a lot of, I think, good connections and just kind of in general having discussions, kind of challenging thought processes and just making sure that there was a lot of unification in trying to solve what's best for the kids. So that was good to see.
I went into a session about effective communication for board members, how to be professional, that you represent the school district when you're around town or on Facebook and whatnot. So just make smart decisions, be responsible, and don't say anything that might get you or the district in trouble.
I went to a session on, I guess, gifted learners, and I've already shared some of this information with Kim. Neola has come up with more of an updated policy that I think we will probably have to look at. It's kind of shifted from like being numbers based to being, I don't know, I guess more broad, like basically meet each child where they need to be met. So use scaffolding, and make sure that every child is like taught to the highest level that they're capable of learning at.
All right. Thank you.
Can I share?
What was that?
Do you mind if I share too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you, my bad.
I let everyone go first. I want to thank Jonathan and Julie, and also, I don't know if she is considered our consultant or our representative, Michelle, along with what Brian said, the self-funded insurance. That was actually a really good session to go to, even though we currently sit on the board. There was a lot of additional information, and I actually happened to sit by some individuals from some of the rural areas, and we had a nice discussion afterwards about some of the struggles they have because they are so spread apart compared to us. We have a lot more options here in Greendale as far as different providers and things like that. So that was really good to know that we're actually kind of got those good resources for us. But I, again, will agree with Brian that the room was very receptive, very full for that particular presentation. And I just think our staff in Greendale, I know they're thankful and appreciative for the solid healthcare services we provide here. It's really second to none. And so I want to thank you guys for the hard work that you make that to help draw our teachers to the district, because I think it is a big draw for Greendale staff to have that stable not mental health, but health care insurance in general. I attended a session on AI in education, and I have asked for that to possibly be brought up in our next policy committee, and then for us to discuss, just because it is an ebb and flowing type of thing. It's very interesting to me as an educator to all the things that you can do, not only with your students can do, but also you can do. And I'm sure Nick and Noah can probably speak to that AI is definitely not going away. It's something that's impacting schools. And what are we doing, to make sure that our policies kind of keep that in mind? So I don't want to put them on the spot, but I did find that to be a very interesting session. It is something I'm actually focusing on in my professional practice right now too, and it's just amazing the things that can be done with AI right now. And although there are some drawbacks, there are definitely some major benefits to it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Moving on, board calendar.
There's not much happening this week, a lot of basketball games, and we will be back next week, so I don't believe there's anything that the board will be attending.
All right. I don't see anyone new here, so we'll skip the second set of comments. We will adjourn, but we do need a motion to enter into closed session.
I'll motion for us to enter into closed session under Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of public employees over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to discuss the superintendent's mid-year evaluation. The board will not be returning to open session.
I second.
All right, we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. We are adjourned.